Hello and welcome in. What is up? This is Offensively Accurate Daily. I'm using the me cam right now because it's going to be a bit shorter. I gotta see this right now. The Mardi Gras video broke the internet. We're going to get into that. But at first, it's only going to be about an hour or so. Unfortunately, my wife's car. We're staring down the barrel of $10,000 in damages. I'll spare you the details, but unfortunately, it's probably going to be pretty expensive. So I got to deal with that as soon as I get off of here. Anyways, let's go ahead and move it on, man. We have a little bit to get into, but mainly I wanted to focus on the Mardi Gras video. Just some crazy stuff, dude. Like I honestly couldn't believe some of the reactions I was getting from this. I'm gonna go ahead and start with one of this very first one here, because I actually want to get his opinion first here. So if you're not aware, and I'll let this play too. We don't need to even have the audio play out on it. There's a video that went around. It was going viral, and it's a Mardi Gras celebration. They're at a gas station. And so you don't need any sound. They're just playing rap music. And so this video goes around, right? And it's just a bunch of modern women doing modern women things. And it's pretty cringe and obnoxious. And the discourse that came out about this was aggressive. Like, I mean, I'm talking like blatantly aggressive. So let me take you to some of these comments here on this thing. And then I'll go to the original post. So Tommy Come Lately, which is a new follow, I actually just recently followed him because throughout this discourse, I'm finding all of these accounts that are taking what I would consider the right stance, which is in the minority, versus every other single trad account, fem account, normie account, non-Christian account, secular account being like, man, if anyone doesn't like this, you must hate women. Anybody who doesn't like this, what, you hate seeing women happy? And there's no nuance to it. It's immediately like there's nothing. There's no nuance. It's either you love this video and this is what women are, or if you don't like the video, you must hate women and you must hate seeing them happy. And it's absurd to think that there's no nuance in between there, right? Like, okay, so let's start here. Tell Me Come Lately says, this video has turned out to be a very real litmus test. There are very honest, faithful Christian men who watch this video and say, I see nothing wrong with this. And I agree entirely. Like, I don't understand how you can watch this and not see the decadence of American society kind of wrapped up in one video. Like, almost every single one of them has, a drink in their hand, alcohol. This is assuming this is a sorority. And they're all, like, 10 of them will have Stanley Cups. They're all, they're twerking, dancing to, garbage rap music. They're just all around degenerate activities entirely. And so you're met with the discourse of, well, if you have any ounce of issue in this, you don't understand women. You must have never had a girlfriend. And it's just this feminist like rhetoric of like instantly making the conversation toxic by extrapolating to the farthest of one extreme. And it's just absurd. Like I can't stand beside it. I mean, I got a bunch of these different takes on this. Now, this is from another account, Colonel Ariolino Buendia, and I find him to be pretty accurate. He's also a Christian account. I found him basically upon a post talking about how Christians should deal with the urban black population, crime, violence, and black culture issue. And I thought he had a very, very poignant angle on that. So if you want someone who's got some very, very unique perspective, that's an account to follow. So with that being said, though, he says, if you have daughters and you're okay with this, they're either still little girls or already lost to it. No one with a middle school daughter like mine has any response but instantly doubled hatred for a machine that turns our beloved daughters into proud public whores. I find this to be very similar in the light of the defense that comes from like the Taylor Swiftie fans. We're full on watching these different videos of these girls like, breaking down in tears, like, in like this pseudo veneration, essentially, that like, Taylor Swift, it wasn't for her, she saved my life, like things that like you would attribute to Jesus Christ. And so when people even begin to point out like this kind of occult like behavior among women, when you try to point the ire of the attention to the fact that there has been a psychological operation that has blatantly targeted the agreeableness and the groupthink mechanism that exists in women to the degree that they will defend themselves, to no end, no matter what they do. Like accountability and responsibility is something that's just nearly entirely impossible to assign to someone across the internet, especially in these platforms. And it's even more so with the fact that when you see other women attempt to do it to other women, that the discourse really has no difference. Obviously, it's probably going to garner a bit more respectability and listenability from women to women, but it's still kind of, nets the same exact results. It's unfortunate. And, to tie that together too, like a lot of these other, these trad conservative accounts, and I'll show you a couple of these, they all take this stance. Like, and it's funny because, Pearly Things she always has a statement where, I've never seen women fight harder for anything than the right to be naked. And that's really like, that's really what it's become. Like the sexual revolution has become like any ounce of, adjudicating a modest, whether that comes in the physical appearance or it comes in her just, being quiet versus loud, like any kind of actual adjudication coming from or advice that lends itself to that, argument, these women deny entirely outright. Like they hate it. They can't, like, why is a man telling me what to do? But even in that point, right, that shows just how deep this feminism has ran to the point in which, like, they're always usurping the male authority. Like, we live in a genocracy, dude. Like, if you can't even make simple, minor points in the nuances that clearly show themselves in a video like this, to only be blown out to the tune of all you see is backpacks, like, it's just, well, what ground do you have? I mean, these women clearly do not respect the majority of the male population. We live in a genocracy. If you can't criticize these people, then what? I mean, as the saying goes, they rule over you, do they not? I mean, clearly we have the ability to, right, like to put it to the test and to call these women out. But as you follow along in the discourse, it's clear that there's one side, and I'll show you the like ratios. Like this one's only got 45 likes. I would like to, let me see if I can just actually go to the original. The original, I believe we were just on the original, actually. Let me go back to it. No. We were not on the original. Hold on. We'll get to that article later. I just wanted to pull up the actual original video because I wanted to show you the comments. This is the original. Okay, this is who the original account poster was. So it's at 22.3 million views right now. 10,000 bookmarks. Like it went viral like almost instantly. So this was released at nighttime 2 days ago. So essentially it probably caught up in the morning and started taking off from there. And, he says this is the original poster saying, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. But let me honestly, without even looking at the comments, even in this image here, what you'll see, right, is they're all wearing like very, very extremely tight clothing. I don't know what the temperature is. I don't care. But they're all, they're wearing like this like pseudo gym clothing that's like, oh, I'm a fit girl, but like they're not going to the gym. They're just wearing like the biker shorts and the other stuff because it's more, what is that? It's, I guess, seemingly a bit more acceptable to wear out in public at events like this than it would be to wear like a specifically tight fitting something else that had the actual resemblance. If it has a gym fit look, it's a bit more approachable. I don't know how we got to that point, but it is. These women, even if you go to your local gym, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like the clothing essentially is like, it's no different than a colored skin suit or like latex, really. It's pretty aggressive. But in these comments here, you'll see, right, like he's gonna get attacked. And then we have, so even we have E, right, Elijah Schaefer. He's saying, are you gay? Because again, it's this stance that like, you can't have any issue with this, or you must hate women. And it's just to me is that I just find it patently absurd to say that. I've like when I've seen 20 Stanley Cups in one video, I've seen multiple women like exposing what I would consider to be a bit too much skin, all while doing. And people thought they were doing like a chicken dance or whatever. I saw some accounts saying that. Like, I mean, maybe if you watched like the first 3 seconds. But then, like, as the video goes on, it's clear, like, they're all twerking, groupthink. It's everything that, like, I hold in heavy disdain. Not everything, I should say. But, like, here, right? Like, you see this woman here? They're all wearing these go-go dancing clothing, wearing tight, like, all of this stuff to sexualize themselves. And I'm sure there's, like, maybe some, like, kind of, ritualistic aspect that they're wearing that too. But, like, I don't, like, look at the guy right here. Do you see how he's just wearing a flannel and a hat and jeans, and that's starkly different from anything else any of these females are wearing? It's just absurd. Like, yeah, I have a problem with what women do. Man, I must be gay. Like, okay, dude, then like we'll never solve this. Like, well, there's no point in even continuing the conversation. Because even if like the most basic nuanced arguments are met with just deafening, like tone deaf, you hate women, it's just okay. Like I'm done. Like I'm out of the conversation. I have no part in even caring about this conversation too. Like just it's clear though too that Con Inc. doesn't care about young men. They are obedient to their big tech masters. They are obedient to the genocracy, the overwhelming feminism, and so be it. Like no amount of you sitting there telling me like, oh, like you hate women, da da da, makes me care at all. Like I'm married, dude. I'm married. I'm in a beautiful marriage. We're extremely happy, and it's like I'm trying to get people to help emulate what I have because I don't have issues. We don't have periods. Like it's just. But the people who do this and tell me like, oh, you hate women, in 2 months I'm gonna see that they divorced like their husband, and that they're gonna sit there and tell me like, well, like I just wasn't happy. I had to do this for me, and it's the same people who are peddling the trad wife kind of stuff. And it's crazy because some of these accounts say that these men fetishize the trad life and then go on and support this kind of garbage. I mean, okay, like I don't really see how we're ever going to move the needle if you see that there's a group of hard-nosed positioned men who are like, nah, dude, like we're not doing this. I'm not switching out. I'm not backing down. And if anything, like if they're like me, like I'm essentially like, I don't have anything to prove. I don't need to be in the dating market, dude. I have nothing to prove. I'm just trying to give my opinion because I see young men constantly just like making the wrong choices, looking for the wrong things, caring about the wrong stuff, not centering their life around God. And then they end up in situations like this with a woman and then end up on the bad end of a legality that is essentially leaning like 90% female. And then you end up getting struck out by the state, and dude, no one's going to help you. And at that point, you will be in the position in which everyone's going to sit there and then tell you, oh, you must have picked wrong. Oh, you must have did it. Oh, you must have did it. And then again, it doesn't move the needle at all in the conversation. It's like people want to sit there and act like they don't see these things. Like they have no idea. It's people just refusing to accept that the sexual revolution has debased our country almost nearly entirely. People refusing to accept the fact that they truly don't honestly have a good amount of authority over their wives. Like, it's like, as much as you want to sit there, and this is my position too, is like, if you want, you can be angry about this one all you want. But it's my positioning that like, the reason why they're like this is because of all, the weak, cucked, coward men who couldn't prevent this from occurring. Who couldn't, and I say that way because it's like, they didn't show these women enough evidence that acting the opposite is actually to their benefit rather than this. And so I hold that against the fathers in their lives and the parents too. The mothers are involved as well. But again, I'm also viewing this from this fact of like most men in their marriages generally have to struggle session with their wives to even get some of these sentiments out. And like often, I'll see these things where it'll end up being like, like I can fix her. Like, it's like, it should be a man's job to be able to help right a woman. And it's like, should it? Like, should these women be coming broken? Is that what we've accepted? We've accepted the premise that women are just, they get broken over time because there's just too much societal pressure to prevent that. No amount of a father figure in her life will prevent that. No amount. I refuse to believe that. I refuse to buy that. I actually accept that as a fact of like, it's one of those battles where that you're going to be painted in such a bad light that many people who are in the big mainstream refuse to take the sword up and swing it. I don't care. Like, I literally don't care. Like, I don't care how many people would sit there and unfollow me over this stuff. It's when you know, and you're using the Bible as your moral compass, as I do. And often I try, and I'm not saying I'm perfect, but as often and as much as I possibly can and try to, which is near 100%. Is I look at this and I go, yeah, I have problems with it. I have problems up and down with it. But there's no point in having the conversation if you're going to sit there and just not listen to anything I say and then reduce it down to I hate women and then make me defend an emotional argument I never put forward. It's like, it's ridiculous, dude. It's stuff that like it's not even worth dealing with. And that's why these enclaves on Twitter and other these spaces have just segregated to the point. Because the men that they claim that they scream at that are the incels and all that are the men that are probably the most happy, who are just like, hey, I was just trying to tell you, And I understand that there are incels in there, but I think it's pretty easy to tell the difference between a guy who hates women and a guy who's like, hey, I don't think that's okay. And if you can't, that's probably more of an indicator of the fact that you hate men more than anything. And so before I move off away from this, though, this is Jeff Younger's take on it. And dude, I love Jeff Younger. And before I show his comment, this is the Allie Beth Stuckey. This one got quoted like crazy because it's extremely tone deaf. She says this, of all the reasons, girls dancing with backpacks on is the reason men don't want women in the West. Okay, then. It's like, yeah, that's the only thing that she noticed out of this video. To which Jeff Younger, I'm assuming he's blocked, which is why I use in the picture. Slut dancing and twerking to ghetto music, but all she sees is backpacks. Missing the point level grandmaster. To which I'd even said, I haven't even seen one single trad female account say anything much different because they all took on the same parroted talk. Feminism runs so deep, it's in the water. And this is something I've been harping on for a long time. That we have normalized so many feminist tendencies, so many feminist processes, so many feminist transactions that like how do you change it? When it runs so deep, the roots are so long that like, just because the root changed color doesn't mean it's not feminism anymore, right? You know what I'm talking about, them tree roots, and you can see them as they change color because groups of them will have been to expose at different points to the sun at different points in time. And what it seems like is like a lot of these women in these Christian conservative men view feminism and they're like, oh yeah, no, it's like, that's right there, that's feminism. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, bro, that root goes all the way down here. And I don't know if it's a matter of the fact that either they can't see it, like they're just purely blind to it out of ignorance. And I can see that from the aspect of a lot of these conservatives aren't that rooted in the Bible. Con Inc. really isn't that Christian anymore. They espouse a lot of things that like I really don't agree with, and I would venture to say a lot of Christians don't agree with, given the fact that there's a surgence of the new right with many other figures like. And with that being said, though, if it's not ignorance, though, if it's not pure blindness, then they're saying it because they actually are feminists. They want these things to continue. They actually view benefits in women behaving in these ways, or they're defending it out of the fact that like they know they partake in the same kind of behaviors, hence they will continue it. I don't know. All I can say is like either way, it's just dumb. It's retarded. I don't think people are gonna put up with this much more. Like. And it broke the internet, man. Like people were just going crazy about it. And I think the best one, even on it, was the fact that this guy's saying it's a litmus test for Christianity. Like, do you regard these women with disrespect or disgust? Like, I don't want my daughter to end up like this. I'm sorry. Like, be mad at me all you want. I don't want my daughter ending up in a sorority at a liberal university where I know she's in the position. And then one of the most vulnerable positions to just be exploited 6 ways from Sunday. On top of that, no, why is my daughter twerking at a gas station? I don't care what's going on. I like, what? It's just like, it's so tone deaf. It's so like, it's arguing with somebody who doesn't understand what words mean. And I think that's really where the rubber meets the road, where like these arguments can't even be happening. Like, it's like talking into somebody who can't understand per capita. Like even if you give them the definition and they're like, okay, but what's that mean? And they can't understand it. Like you can't argue with that person. There's a concept that is crucial to the argument being had. And if someone can't understand, how to viewing both sides of this position, understanding the definition and inside of its context, in and out of different places, then you're going to gain no ground because they don't have the tools nor the knowledge that they need to have, the base level knowledge that they need to have for you to be able to make your points heard. That's why I just think it's really, really unfortunate. I think it's good because it seems like these things are getting more and more called out. However, like I had said on the original one, like you can tell, and I'll go to the, how do I do the engagements? I think it's like this. So then the quotes here on this thing, dude, it's like, yeah, like 36,000 likes for someone who's saying like, better to doing nonsense like this than versus, and it's like, did he say that? Like, no, who, I like the tweet says, "Why don't men want Western women?" Question mark. And she says it's a better sign of one's mental and physical health. Like no one's arguing that. So what they do is they put forward this argument that no one said. Literally nobody said that. But to make her point, seem very poignant. Like she's saying a true thing on top of a video, even though nobody. She's responding to something that nobody even said. So it makes the guy look like an idiot, but it's just low IQ. And then even Billboard Chris, which I think he's homosexual, to be honest, which makes sense why he kind of thinks the way that he does. But anyways, he says a lot of grumps and weirdos giving these girls a hard time. Lighten up. They're having fun. They're outside. They're not on their phones. They're fit, making friends, making memories, and they're dancing. Wow, they're not on their phones, as every single one almost in this video is hanging on to a Stanley Cup and their cell phone. Like, wow, Billboard Chris. For a solid few minutes, they just got off their phones. Man, well, praise that, dude. Praise Jesus. It's just so dumb. It's so dumb, dude. But again, is it because this dude is so effeminate? He's so removed from his masculinity that he can't even make or have an organic judgment from a masculine perspective? Or is it just because he's such an androgynous person at this point that he can't separate anything besides, well, just don't take away someone's freedom? Like, what is your moral compass, man? Like, and to say like they're making friends, making memories, they're fit, like, wow, oh my gosh. Like, yeah, I'm glad they're not obese. But is this what, again, responding to something that's not being said on the post. It's ridiculous. But again, he's just making the note, I will say, he's making the note of all of the people he's seen who are going against it. But again, we have 2 for it, right? 2 for it. This one, obviously, a lot less impressions, but again, 4,000 likes, clearly not getting ratioed. And then I think this is funny. My trad wife would never dance like that. And then it shows what's clearly meant to be an effeminate incel-looking man with some Asian woman trying to, make and poke fun at the men going their own way movement, which I also don't agree with. Like, I'm not red pill, dude. I'm not red pill. I'm Christ pill. I'm probably gonna split the line a lot of times down the way. Because again, it's just this. If you didn't love what you saw in that video, you hate women. You sad incel cuck. Go back to your cave. Go play games in your mother's basement. Like, how these people can't see or hear themselves being complete feminist, toxic leftist progressives when they venture forward to these arguments is absolutely beyond me. But again, I will say I am not a fan of either of these two people. Lauren Southern is honestly like one of the more subversive feminists that exist. She has good political content, but I cannot get behind her on any of her social issues. And again, too, like, this is another person not many people know, is a single mother, blew up a lot of different issues, doesn't pay any lip service to traditional family values, but will sit here and scream at you to have them. Like, again, I will not sit here and be lectured by a single mother. And then I'm pretty sure Billboard Chris is gay. If he's not, comment me and get mad at me, yell at me, tell me I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure he is. And if he's not, I have a kind of a semblance. I have a hunch he is. Lauren Chen takes a bit more of a laid back approach, saying this video seems to be splitting Twitter. Is there anything wrong with these women behaving? Downfall of the West? And I think she's saying that because Lauren Chen is someone who I've also noticed walk things back a little bit as well. She's kind of stepping back into a bit more of a trad role. She got owned really hard on some kind of feminist take that she had. And like, but the own wasn't in like an FU kind of way. It was in a like, Lauren, like, what are you saying? Like, listen to me. And I think she like took a lot of like good graces from that. So she stepped back from this. And then here's the backpack one. Yeah, all anybody sees is a backpack. Like, yeah, dude, that's what people are mad about, is these girls having backpacks. But it's like these lifeless gazes. They're all, again, like stomach showing, like very like just like not entirely off the top, right? Like they're not OnlyFans models, doing extremely sexual stuff. But it's like, bro, like you really like, why are we defending it? It's just like, pick it apart, dude. Honestly, like, why don't you intellectual trad wives use your nuances and your very well acclaimed nurturing advice to help lead these women in the right direction, not sit here and say there's nothing wrong with it and then demonize anyone who tries to provide any ounce of nuance to it. And even Crusader Pepe says the reason this repulses most conservative men is not the dancing. It's because we all know what these women will be doing later that night. I've kind of beat this topic to death at this point. I'm gonna go ahead and move it on, man. There was some other news that's going on. Let me just go ahead and say this. You don't hate the media enough. This is a story from the New York Post. If it loads. Yeah. Migrant charged with murdering Laken Riley. He was likely panicked when she fought back. Who gives a well, he should have feared for his life, dude. He like I dude, and to think that like this is man. And again, I don't think Joe Biden's even said something on it, but I bring this story up to be like, dude. And this is the New York Post of all people, like, and they've been having some shady ones too. Like they even threw some shade at the Whatever podcast not too long ago, like making some weird headlines saying that like all they do is pull on porn star women and some of the worst, and that's what they. And it just yeah, the Whatever podcast is definitely him like nonstop attacking women. Like, no, it's him challenging their ideas. He's literally giving them a platform and allowing them to speak for themselves. Like, what, a man can't challenge a woman on her discourse? Or are you just mad that there's so many of these women that there's a nonstop flow of this kind of content? If you hate it, stop defending it. It's as simple as that. But anyways, back to the New York Post. You don't hate the media enough. Why at all was this article at all meant to be framed to give any ounce of like, oh, you should feel bad for the migrant who raped the lady and killed her and disfigured her skull? Dude, come on, dude. Like, no one cares anymore. This is honestly driving like people up the wall. This is going to make people become things that they otherwise rather should not be. And I'm saying that because I see it. I'm saying that because I'm somebody who feels it. I'm saying that because I'm somebody who is around it all the time in an urban area. I cannot explain the things that go through my head when I think if this was my wife, or if this was my mother, or if this was, dude, hell, any female that is in my life that I have a significant relationship to. My gosh, man. This would have been the last episode you would have seen me from. And I'll leave it at that. It's just, and in these lines of making politicians afraid again, or not making politicians afraid again, that's what I was going to say, but making the media scared. This is the residents of Athens here in Georgia at this press conference while the mayor is trying to like just give some BS take of like why it even happened. It's honestly like, let's go ahead and play this. I think the desktop audio should be okay.
You can look in contractual language and you can find out exactly what it means to be an SEC institution. Sanctuary city doesn't track with either of those. And so that term means different things to different people depending on the context of the discussion.
We know what it means.
Many of the elements.
Liar.
Many of the elements.
Liar.
We're here to listen.
You're a liar.
We're here to listen.
Liar.
There'll be time for.
So he just starts screaming. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off actually so we can hear that.
Questions.
Liar. You are guilty and got blood on your hands for this murder, sir.
Many of the aspects.
He says, you've got blood on your hands. You are guilty for this murder, sir. And this is where we're at. You need to be active. You need to be making your politicians afraid again. You need to be making your newspapers honest. You need to be calling out. Ever present vigilance is the price of freedom. There is no amount of which you can lay your duties, your civic responsibilities as a man, as a citizen, as a Christian, down for a single day. You must every single day honor what you were put here for, honor what your duties are, honor what your role is on this planet, or otherwise we get the chaos and the degeneracy and the debasing that we see today. I am glad that the residents there in Georgia and in Athens are calling out the mayor for such garbage. And keep it up. Go. They should have went further. They should have started shouting him down. Nothing that this guy was about to say about equity, diversity, nothing was going to make anyone appeased. They want to know why they are continually subject to the third world being imported into their country with all of the issues and the violence that come with it. Now, unfortunately, I would imagine, though, that we're not going to get a Joe Biden statement on it, and they will do their best to avoid it entirely until Laken Riley falls out of the news cycle, and that is just simply abysmal. Before I get, though, to the end, let me go ahead and say this. Subscribe to me on YouTube, follow me on X, follow us on Spotify, share the show if you wish. There's two of them. There's Offensively Accurate Daily, which is what I'm on right now, OAD. And there's also Offensively Accurate, which is our group podcast, as well as our more Christian themed episodes. So OA, Offensively Accurate, will run Sunday and Mondays. Sunday, I will be solo for some time until I can get some of the guests and interviewees in here. Unfortunately, one of the co-hosts I had originally for that has to take some time off to do some renovations for his house. So that's going to be a little bit, it might be 2 months until I get on the co-host back. But I will try to work in some interviews in the meantime with that. On the other hand, on Mondays, that is me and Donnie's episode, Monday Fun Day, where we go ahead and we have some discourse because he's the punk rock and politics man, and I am the Christian nationalist, hard-nosed hammer who's got a little bit less nuance to things when it comes to pushing solutions or prescribing solutions. So I wanted to put that out there too before I get it too long into this. I also wanted to just make sure I give attention to Dylan Brewer once again. I guarantee that still there's not been a statement by Ron DeSantis, at least not that I've seen. If there has been, thank the Lord. I did reach out to Dylan Brewer. That was about 4 or 5 days ago. I'm doing this every single day until we get updates on his case. He said 2 things to me. I asked him to come on the show, but he said it's off the table until this gets resolved. But there's 2 things that he said. He said, 1, getting this in front of Ron DeSantis to getting it to push mainstream would probably honestly help a lot. And then in turn, donate if you can. And so I wanted to update and see where he was at on his GoFundMe. It was at like 33,000 last time I had checked, and it's not budged at all. So that is unfortunate. If anyone can or does have the ability to, I would encourage you to look into that story as well. He was charged with a felony for burning out while turning left, and you can see it in that little image right there, over a pride flag that was painted in an intersection. Charging with a hate crime, I believe they're trying to get him to over like $6,000 of damages. It's a rather unfortunate story, but I wanted to give my due diligence to Dylan Brewer. And outside of that, though, I can't escape without going to my sponsor here. My first and only sponsor, The Mean Tweets. They're a conservative and mega apparel clothing company. They got phenomenal work ethic. They designed my original Red Pill, real-time Red Pill intro entirely for free. He sent me like 4 different versions of it. Super nice guy. I would encourage you to reach out and support him if you wish. But with that being said, though, if you do, promo code RedPill10 gets you 10% off. That's RedPill10, 10% off. And then I have a couple of these images here. I always think it's funny. I bring this one up all the time. The bats for maps, minor attracted persons is what that's for. Obviously, it's just meant to, you know what it means. And they got a lot of content similar to that. And this was just a screenshot I took of, about 2 weeks ago. So they got more stuff. He's always putting out more designs too. And the easiest way I can sell their stuff, their apparel, is, if you don't like talking about your political opinions like how I do, and being confrontational, well, the next best way, if you want to be a bit more passive about them, is putting them on a t-shirt. It's something that people can see people can notice, and then you don't got to use your words as much. You might still get the person being angry at you, but at least you can avoid the the energy expenditure of arguing with a leftist. So that being said, let me go ahead and go down to one of the final things that I had today, which was, there's just some miscellaneous news at this point. The New York Post, again, this is again why you don't hate the media enough. They're saying the U.S. airman Aaron Bushnell claimed to have classified knowledge of the U.S. forces fighting in Gaza tunnels on the night before setting himself on fire. To which Tim Pool says, if this were true, dude would have leaked it before immolating himself, and I agree. To me, it felt pretty odd that he didn't say much more while he was walking up before he lit himself on fire. If anything, that would have been a great opportunity to say that right before he does something. You put it on camera, right beforehand. I wouldn't imagine you would want to wait until you've burned yourself to death to kind of get that information out. But again, I will say this: you do not hate the media enough. But moving it to the other bigger bill, is I saw this from Jeff Younger, and I was curious why nobody was talking about it. The Arizona GOP is advancing a bill that's legalizing the killing of undocumented migrants on the suspicion of trespassing. No, he didn't link the article there. Let me go ahead and eliminate about all of these so I don't destroy my computer for my memory usage. Right here. So this is from Axios. And they're killing undocumented migrants on suspicion of trespassing. They say that, but I don't think that's what the bill is. That's just meant to get you to look at it a specific way. So Arizona Republicans are advancing a bill that would allow people to legally kill someone accused of attempting to trespass or actively trespassing on their property. So it says someone accused of attempting or actively trespassing. It doesn't say on suspicion that they're an undocumented migrant. So this is a section from the bill. It says, justification, use of physical force in defense of premises. Definition. A person or his agent in lawful possession or control of premises is justified in threatening to use physical force, deadly physical force, or in threatening or using physical force against another when and to the extent that a reasonable person would believe it immediately necessary to prevent or terminate the commission or attempted commission of a criminal trespass by the person in or on the premises. So it doesn't say anything about the fact that you think it's a migrant. They're trying to paint that picture so that you only view it as like Arizona's passing a bill that lets you kill migrants. It's ridiculous. You don't hate the media enough. They lie. They just literally nonstop effing lie. But again, it's Axios. Like, what do you expect? And so this section B here says, a person may use deadly physical force under subsection A only in the defense of himself or third persons as described in sections 13405 and 13406. So only in the defense of himself or third persons as described. So I'm assuming it probably extends itself to like family, maybe like wife, children. And then C, for the purposes of this section, premises means any real property or any structure, movable or immovable, permanent or temporary, adapted for either human residence or lodging, whether occupied or not. So really, it looks like this is saying any real property or any structure. And when it says any structure, like that removes the property or the ownership of it. So I mean, like if that I guess that would that not then allow someone who even wasn't the rightful owner of a property to defend it with lethal force if they felt the property was threatened, even if they didn't own it? Say you're on some structure that's not theirs. That's curious. I'd actually like to see how this gets broken down. Although I'd even tweeted about this. The way that this Axios article presents it is the fact that the big picture, which is expected to be vetoed if it reaches the state's Democratic governor. So maybe the reason why it's not being talked about or being negatively ostracized, like in the media where you're ran with the narrative, is maybe because it's so expectant to be dead on arrival. But it's Arizona though, so like I would have some hope, maybe possibly. Maybe not though. Maybe it is just that lost of a state. I just don't believe it though, given all of the issues with like the election stuff, nonsense that happened with Kari Lake. And so, and you see this here, would legalize the murder of undocumented immigrants who often have to cross ranches that sit on the state's border with Mexico. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to be in America. But in order to cross illegally, they must trespass. You see how I worded it there? You see how I just wasn't lying through my effing teeth about what the reality of the situation is? Like, and then it goes on to the Republican state rep, Justin Heap, said the bill is intended to close a loophole by which migrants have moved within the U.S. I'm not familiar with what that loophole is. And I believe this is the story of the 70-year-old. Yeah. George Allen Kelly, an Arizona rancher, was accused of killing a migrant, Gabriel Cuen Butamia, walking through his 170-acre property last year, per the Arizona Republic. And I'm going to swing that over here because I'm pretty sure this was like the 74-year-old man. Yeah, it is, of course. There we go. Just look at him. 75 years old. Come on, TurboTax. Nobody wants to listen to that. Okay. Y'all saw it for a second, at least. In the murder trial. So he was defending his property. This is a little absurd. George Allen Kelly, and I've already talked over this story in detail, but just for those who aren't familiar with it, he was accused of killing the illegal immigrant on January 30th. But I think that happened last year. Like, this is from 2023. Yeah, September 8th, 2023. So this happened over a year ago. Kelly's attorneys argue that he only fired warning shots above a group of migrants crossing his property. Kelly is facing 1 count each of second-degree murder and aggravated assault. Now, you want to see what they buried the line here? They talk about how, like, he had this murder trial of this guy and, like, oh, he murdered this dude. And then it's, like, right here. Warning shots of a group of migrants. A 75-year-old man is watching a group of illegals going through his property, and you think that he wasn't going to go out and defend it? What? But again, this goes back. Again, you don't hate the media enough, dude. You have to hate these people as much as they hate you. Lying through their teeth. Like, how many people have sat there and then screamed with this loose knowledge, being like, that man deserves life in prison. Blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just so fake, dude. It's so sad and so fake. It honestly just makes me so depressed, because like that guy, like, what's he gonna do? Like, and honestly, like, the longer this process takes on, he's getting closer to death. This is not a situation he should be in. If he gets sentenced and they actually put him in jail, he's probably not going to last very long. His body, like, the dude should be going home and relaxing, being able to defend his property as he was doing rightfully, and not having to fight the broken two-tier justice system that exists in this country. But alas, here we are, and that story is now a year old, and I'm sure he's still going to get sentenced. It's just ridiculous, dude. It makes me so angry. And then, so they're saying his trial's set for March 21st per the AP. So he's still got months, dude, like, just making this last forever. And, you know, he's probably, I mean, maybe he gets to be released out on bail. I would hope that would be the case. And instead of forcing him to be stuck there. But I say that because the Arizona GOP is based, and it's a step in the right direction, especially how it's worded here. I'll leave this up here again for those who wanted to see it. This is the actual justification for HB 2843. The justification for the use of physical force in defense of premises, the definition of it. This is based. I don't know why this couldn't be applied in other states. Forgive me. I mean, I know other states do have a bit more harsher, like, trespassing laws, especially things like West Virginia. But it's moving in the right direction. And so if they're saying, like, it's going to be dead on arrival because the governor is going to veto it, well, then the only method forward is to get a majority vote and rule it over. But I don't really think the Arizona, the makeup of the Arizona State Congress is like that, so I doubt that will happen. But maybe this is enough to encourage other states across the border, surrounding Texas and Arizona, which I believe that leaves Nevada, Louisiana is around there. A couple of the other ones, maybe they also put it in, because I know maybe they not be right up on the border, but I'm sure they get flow, right? Because I imagine once you cross the border, most people aren't trying to sit right there in Texas. They probably try to make sure that they can get further deep and removed away from the situation, so it's seemingly less attached that or less probable that they had came over the border. I imagine one of the dumbest things you could do is be an illegal immigrant and then just stay in Texas, right? Because it's like people are just going to automatically assume that's exactly who you are. And to move on from this, I will leave you off with something funny. I wanted to get more positive before I end up signing off here. I just did not have much time. Back to the content. Due to the car issue, and I got to go make sure I can make sure my car's functional as well. I'm going to be able to also clip this and get up on YouTube as soon as I could. I'm going to put my headphones on for this one, just because I know it's going to be a little bit too loud. And I don't want the mic to catch the audio, and then audio bleed, and then just bad quality, bad production. I don't want that. Let's go ahead and play this one.
People are coming back to their consciousness, sir. Did you poison the food supply? Yes, sir. There's no mineral left in the soil. Are you feeding them negativity on the news? Yes, sir. War and death. Social media. Yes, sir. Gender wars. Damn. Racism. It's not enough. They keep coming back. What do we do? We need to lower their immune systems. I thought we did that already with the virus, sir. What else can we do? More poison. We'll put more poison in the crop field. We used all the poison. We'll poison the animals. And then tell them to eat the animals. This is why you're our leader, sir. Put the poison in the animals. Train doctors to not address the cause. I see where you're going. But only the symptom. So they'll get treated forever and eventually die. And we still get the money. Sir, what about the people that have found cures for these diseases and are trying to help other people cure these diseases? We'll make it punishable by law to say you can cure disease. What about the people that know the truth about COVID? Punishable by law to spread misinformation about COVID. But sir, that's free speech. We can't pass a law like that. We'll pay social media to take down people that even say the word.
It sounds like Alex Stein is the guy he's talking to, the way he said, like, you're a genius. I wanted to leave you on a good note like that. I thought that was hilarious. It does give me a good feeling in the inside when people are, a bit very, very satirical, but blunt about the nature of things. And hopefully that's eye-opening to a lot of people. And again, we're dealing with 1,000,001 problems, dude. It's nonstop, over and over and over and over again. And if I can leave you with this for one, it is make sure that you are cycling back to the original story with the Mardi Gras video. Are you sure you're exhibiting every ounce of biblical masculinity, or are you exhibiting your idea of what you think masculinity is? And the second thing to that I will say is, are you listening to God's word, or are you listening to the pastor's word? Moving on from there, the Arizona GOP is based for that. It's unfortunate that it probably won't be able to get pushed through. I know there were some other issues with Ken Paxton as well. I know I didn't cover that, but I just wanted to be quick about it. But you don't hate the media enough. Understand that also essentially every single news piece that you see has some kind of lie in it. You know, we're at the point really where there's really no good news organizations to really look at. Like everything must be verified, re-verified. You know, look at this piece, look at this piece, compare it. Well, what do they share that's the same? Like you're just gonna have to. You know, that's why I say vigilance is the price of freedom. You know, everlasting vigilance is the price of freedom. You must be wary, dude. We live in a fallen world. Evil exists. There's no point at which you win and get to the top of the hill that you stop looking down the hill to see what's coming up to get you. It's quite simply literally the game of King of the Hill. Just because you're on top doesn't mean you'll be there forever. And if you know you're on top, it means you need to be looking down and avoiding what may be coming after you. And I say that because I am overhearing the fact of people going, well, I don't care about politics, man. I don't care about none of that stuff. It don't affect me. And it's just so dumb and ignorant. Like, yes, it affects you, dude. Like politics became pop culture. And if anything, they affect you now more than they ever did, period. And if you want to sit there and be tolerant like a good little boy and be a matrix slave and, you know, plug yourself into the machine, go ahead, do that. That's fine. I understand a lot of people might act like Cypher. You know, like give me the warm steak. I know it's fake. I know it might be dog feces, but let me go back because it's just better than having to think about what the real truth is. So be it. And if that's you, you're not the person for me. But if you're not, then follow along because I'm sure we'll have a good time. With that being said, follow me here, follow me on X, follow me on YouTube at Atlas Thugged. Follow the show on Spotify. I have links everywhere on my X page, and I try to post to Facebook as well too to keep everybody posted up for information. Appreciate you coming in. God bless. Christ is King. I know it's a bit shorter. I'm sorry, but I'll get these uploaded as fast as I can. Just dealing with car issues, I couldn't really put much time into it today. So maybe if I get a time, I might freestyle stream on YouTube later on, possibly. But with that being said, peace out. I appreciate you guys. You all take care.